Welcome to Real Estate Investing for Women. On this show, you will learn how to create wealth through real estate the blissful way. That means with very little stress and very little time. We talk about strategies, mindset, heart set, money smarts, resources, and so much more to ensure you're able to create the success you most deeply desire. Now, here's your host, Moneeka Sawyer.
Today, I am so excited to welcome to the show, Isabelle Guarino-Smith. I said that so good in my practice, and I didn't do it very well right now. She's giving me a thumbs up, though. Awesome. Okay, so Isabelle Guarino-Smith. Isabelle is a graduate from Arizona State University, a former flight attendant, Walt Disney World intern, and now Residential Assisted Living Academy's leading lady. She has been working as the COO of the company for the last 6 years, keeping everyone in line and on task. She's been featured in many magazines and articles on the topic of senior housing, and most recently was given the title as one of the top influencers in senior housing. Isabelle also won Aging Media's The Future Leaders of Assisted Living Award in 2020. That's pretty impressive, Isabelle. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, it's so much fun to you had such a varied career from flight attendant to Walt Disney World intern. I just love that. How did you end up in assisted living?
You know, it's really interesting for us. It started with family, right? My grandmother fell, she broke her hip, and the doctor's like, she can't go home alone. She needs, care, 24/7 care. And, many of your listeners might have been in that same situation themselves, right? With aging loved ones. This happens to almost everybody, right? Mm-hmm. This happened to us, and it was kind of like, what do? Do you pay for in-home care, which is incredibly expensive? Do you quit your job and take care of your loved one full time? And, now what? That's your full-time thing. I know I'm not, born to be a caregiver. So that didn't really make a lot of sense. Or you put them into a home, right? And as soon as you say it, you kind of feel like icky, like, I can't do this. This is my beloved grandmother, mom, dad, whatever the case may be. So for us, it was kind of like, let's find an alternative option. Let's find something that we're comfortable with. When we realized it was going to cost $5,000 a month to have her stay in one of these homes, or we did quick math and we're like, we could make $10,000 a month if we just owned the real estate and the business, and she could live for free. It just made a whole lot of sense to say, no, let's get involved on the real estate side, give her the best of the best care. And we kind of, get two birds with one stone. So it really started with something close to home for me and my family.
That is such a fascinating story. And I would just say we've had to make this decision for my father-in-law.
Yeah.
And we did end up putting him in a home because he really can't move at all. And he's so big. We can't lift him. We can't clean him. I mean, it was just impossible.
Yeah.
And there's nobody at home that, none of us, we're not natural caretakers in the way that they are in these other places, right? Like lifting and cleaning and diapers and all of that stuff. But what's fascinating is they originally were going to charge us $5,300, like you said, but now that he's in it, it's costing close to 10. Because yes, because there's all the added care, right? Like the $5,300 was base care. We had to ratchet it up, right? Because he can't even get out of bed. So we kept ratcheting it up. Now we just moved him to memory care, but then there was the other things that are not covered. So sometimes Medicare covers some of this. In our case, it didn't cover anything. But the other interesting thing was like diapers. We're paying $1,000 a month on diapers, or a physical trainer to come in so he could just continue to move his hands. He just lost use of his hands, so he can no longer feed himself. So now he's in memory care, but we were trying to have his hands continue to be used. And so we had someone coming in to train him with his hands. That was costing $1,000 a month. So it's amazing once we go down this path, what it costs. So what an interesting strategy you came up with to deal with that cost. That's fascinating.
Your story, I tell that to people all the time. I say, what's the difference between a big box facility, right? Mm-hmm. And a residential assisted living home? And I say, one of the things is the cost of care. Mm-hmm. When you move in, they tell you it's going to be a certain dollar amount, but mm-hmm. you didn't take the bath on Tuesday, you took it on Saturday, and they're like extra 500.
That's right.
You tried to run away, right? Extra 1,000. Like they just knock things up. You get that first bill and it's $8,000 and you're like, what happened, Dad? Like, oh, I signed up for 5,300. And I tell people this and they're like, no, there's no way. And I'm like, yes, wait until it happens to you. You're going to look for an alternative to say, how can I get this where it's one flat rate, no matter what happens to them, they're getting the best of best care, low caregiver to, resident ratio. And then if you can own it and be cash flowing and, be making, holding that real estate, I mean, win, So I say that story all the time. Now I'm going to have to shout you out and say, no, for real, it's happening.
It happens. And it was like, and there were all these little things, like they give them a little emergency button that they wear around their neck, right? Because he can't reach over and pull the cord. So he's got this little thing around his neck. Well, he kept pushing the cord. He'd like, oh, I need my cell phone plugged in, or, so he kept pushing the cord. They started charging us for every single push on that cord. They're like, we're not supposed to get that push 200 times, but we can't control him.
He just needs help. He needs someone there.
That's right. That's right. Anyway, so fascinating. I'm like, thank goodness, ladies, right? I talk all about how money is good, right? Could I have taken such good care of my father-in-law and just been like, okay, we're not going to yell at him. We're not going to yell at these people that are taking care of him. We're going to try to figure out, like, they were providing diapers for 1,500. We're now ordering them on Amazon with a subscription for 1,000. So we're finding ways to cut back our costs, right? But we're not so freaked out. I mean, we're freaked out, but we're not, we're not like our budget is going to die because we're doing this thing, right? So it's just interesting what good things money can do for us, ladies. That's all I'm saying, is we can take care of the people we love. Yeah. So anyways, I'm sorry, I just went on a tangent, but I'm so excited, Isabelle, to talk to you because I'm in it. And last night, I'm going to just go on. But last night I was having a conversation with my dad. My dad's 91. He's fallen 3 times in the last 2 months. Anybody who's got an aging parent. And I'm trying to convince him to use a walker, which he absolutely will not do. But then I'm like, just use a cane. Well, and he says to me, this is my dad says to me, Moneeka, I have lived my life. If I die now, it's okay. And I'm like, I'm not worried about you dying. I mean, I don't want you to die. But if you fall down and your quality of life disappears, what is that going to be like for you?
Right.
Like, could you please start using a cane or something so you stop falling? And so he says, we talk about this for an hour. He says, I'll think about it. But seriously, he takes a fall. What if he breaks something? They don't heal. Now suddenly they don't get to be with their family because they're either stuck in a room. If we can afford care at home, we've got this $10,000 expense for another parent, right? Or they're in a home. Anyways, it's such a difficult thing, just like what you described. I just had this conversation with my dad last night. Like, Dad, you need to manage your quality of life. That's the thing. If you're alive, we would rather you be happy, right?
Right.
So anyways, sorry, my tangents, but it's happening. It's in my life right now. Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. It's real life, and the thing is right now, right? Your dad is 90, you said? So
91. Yep.
91. So he's in the silent generation, not baby boomers.
Right.
And so silent generation, there's only 47 million of them. Baby boomers, there's 76 million. We're about to double the need for care. And we don't really have the systems to be prepared for the silver tsunami, right? Like, they don't need, baby boomers don't need assisted living for another 20, 30 years. It's their parents who are in it. But if we're already 1.3 million beds short, and there's only 43 million and we're expecting 76 million over the next 20 years, what's going to happen? No one's pumping these beds out that fast, So it's a massive crisis or a mega opportunity. And it's something that everyone is going to deal with. It's either going to be your loved one or your own self lying in the bed, writing a check to somebody else.
That's right.
Or you can play the ownership role and really take care of your own loved ones and yourself, and maybe even leave a blessing, leave a legacy to your own kids, Right. It could be good.
Yeah. Okay, so let's let you talk now. My ladies have to listen to my voice all the time. But anyways, So tell us, what is assisted living as you're defining? Because you said something about assisted living versus big box. So
Yes.
let's talk a little bit about that and how you're defining it.
Perfect. So what we teach and train on, what we do ourselves, is residential assisted living. So it's senior housing, but in a residential home in a single family neighborhood where there's only 6 to 16 seniors living in that one home, usually in private bedrooms, private bathrooms, but they have shared common spaces, just like, you know, a living room and dining room and front room, and maybe even a library or a hair salon or whatever. These are typically more upscale homes in nice parts of town, right? But in the home, there's 24/7 care, help with activities of daily living. So just like you were describing, getting up, walking, bathing, taking medications, eating, really whatever they need. In some of these homes, there's private chef, but there's always 24/7 caregivers, a licensed administrator who's kind of running the business. And the role we play and that we teach other people to play is that owner's box. So owning the real estate, owning the business, not working in the home, not living in the home, but just owning and operating the business in that sense. So it's different than a big box because it's not a big commercial facility with hundreds of beds. You know, the resident to caregiver ratio is very different, right? In a big box facility, oftentimes it's 15-1. And if they're telling you it's lower, ask them if it's staff or caregivers, because oftentimes they'll include staff, which means chefs, janitors, front desk people, landscapers. A landscaper is not caring for your dad. They should not be included in staff to, you know, resident ratio. No, it's caregiver to resident ratio. And it can get 15 people. I can't take care of 15 people at one time. I don't think you can. That's impossible. So we're really setting up those caregivers for failure, which is why they're, you know, saying, hey, we're going to charge you more when your dad dings this all the time, because they don't have the time and capacity to come to visit him that often. That's sad. That's not okay. We need to give our seniors better quality of care, better quality of life. So in our homes, it's usually a 4-1 or 5-1 ratio. It's also a much smaller environment. So you can have eyes on the residents really at all times. So that's kind of what we do, what we teach people to do. It's still senior housing. It's just an alternative and a real estate investment opportunity for those who are in that world.
Interesting. So how is this different, for instance, than a nursing home? So we've got the assisted living and the big box, and then there's also the nursing facilities, right?
Yeah. So a nursing home is typically where doctors, nurses, gurneys, IVs, it's medical. So assisted living, you can be licensed to care for activities of daily living. You can be licensed to care for memory care. You can be licensed for respite and hospice, but you can't be licensed in a physical home to do nursing care. So that's where they do have to transition on to that. So most people will stay in our homes until they pass on to the next life, or they'll move on to nursing care because their needs are too great for what we're licensed to care for.
Interesting. Okay. So it's more medical. When would someone need that?
When does someone need that? You know, when you've had assisted living for enough time and then maybe something happens, right, where you need to be hooked up to IVs and you need 24/7 doctor watch on you. It could just be health declining. It could be you had a bad fall. It could be something like that. Like I was saying, most people don't leave our homes. They pass on from our homes. So it's a very small percentage who move to needing that level of care, but it really just ranges. It's person to person based on your health and your needs, of course.
Got it. Okay. Got it. Thank you for that clarity.
Yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about the business of this. So how much money can be made? How is it set up? Tell me a little bit more about that. Because what you're talking about, I actually didn't even see as an option when I was doing research on these homes. So interesting. So what I saw was the places that had 100 rooms, right? Or 55 rooms or 100 rooms. We chose a place with 55, or the active living communities where there are single family homes, right? And they're all around them. There's this big community area. And so they have their party areas and their pool and all, whatever it is that they've got, maybe a golf course close by, maybe an on campus store or something like that, right? But they're all living in their own single family home. So those were the two that I was seeing. Tell me a little bit more about what specifically what you're talking about and how the money looks around that.
Where do you live?
I live, at the time I was living in Campbell, California.
California. Okay.
Yeah.
So that's good to know because basically 61% of assisted living beds are in residential assisted living homes. We are actually the majority, but no one knows about us because there's no big sign out front. You could drive by one of these homes and never know it was a care home. Never know that in California, you're allowed to have 6 residents in a home. So those homes, I mean, that could be a 4-bedroom, 3-bath. That could be a 5-bedroom, 4-bath. It's not this massive, crazy, huge home. You could have driven right by it and never known that it existed, right? Because those solo owners, they don't have the marketing dollars that a Brookdale, a Sunrise, and Atrium has. So it's very different, right? You might not even know that they exist, although we are the majority, which is interesting.
It is interesting.
Right?
So, and how do people even find it then?
So how you can find and where you can find, we created a map called the RAL Home Locator, and that's the website too, ralhomelocator.com. And there you can see all 30,000 of these homes that exist across the country right now today. But for the most part, seniors are, or I should say, you would actually be what we consider a daughter Judy. So like the person who's in charge of their loved one's care, right? They're the one searching for the care, maybe paying for the care, checking in on the care, complaining about the care, praising the care, whatever it might be. That's what we call daughter Judy. So what usually happens is daughter Judy will start researching exactly like you did, trying to find homes in the area to see where should we put them? What options are available? There's an entire industry of people called placement agents who usually work with families just like you to say, okay, what's your budget? What's your options? And then they'll pass out business cards. They get paid if you choose one of the homes they send you to. So they'll try to find a good option for you, but also they're getting paid on it. You know, it's not free labor. So they might be recommending smaller homes, bigger homes, depending on the needs of your loved one.
Okay, so that's great. So there are organizations that will place your loved ones, right? So that can help you with that. That's awesome because I couldn't even find that when I was looking. Like I literally, so I wonder, like, am I lame? Like, why couldn't I find this stuff? Do you just Google for this?
A lot's on Google, a lot's just online, you know, and that's the thing is that this is starting to become like concern for everyone. So there's we're kind of like a baby industry, right? Everyone, it's really, really growing in population right now, or popularity, I should say, because back in the day, it used to be they would come live with you. And now people are working 2 careers in one household. And that just doesn't work a lot of times because you've got your own kids. It's the sandwich generation, they call it, right?
Absolutely.
You're taking care of your kids. Now you've got to take care of them. And it's a lot. And it's not that you don't want to, it's just, it's not the same as it used to be. So we're starting to see a lot more popularity in that, a lot more national and local placement agents popping up, a lot more online marketing, things of that nature. So you'll start, it's going to be red Corvette syndrome. Once you've been exposed, you start seeing it everywhere.
Okay,
right?
Good. Because I was like, wow, I didn't see any of this stuff.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, good. So tell us a little bit about how the money works with this stuff.
Yes. So we were saying that the national average to live in one of these homes is $4,500 a month. And that's going to totally range depending on what city, state, or county you're in, right? If you're in California, your California state average is, I want to say 5,250, something like that. But depending on your county or city, it could be different, right? Salinas is almost 7,100 on average and Stockton's 3,500. So it ranges. But if we did national numbers and we said $4,500, a month per person in every city or county, you're also allowed to have a different maximum amount of residents. So 6 to 16 are the rules in most cities or states. California is 6. I'm in Arizona, ours is 10. If you're in Texas, it's 16. If you're in Florida, it's 12. If you're in Jersey, it's 15. I mean, it ranges everywhere. So let's say we just did 10, since it's right in the middle of 6 and 16, $4,500 a month times 10 residents in the home, that's 45,000 coming in every single month. But of course you have your expenses, right? The food, the cable, the activities, paying for your staff. I mean, all in expenses, including liability insurance and maintenance and everything, right? Maybe on that home, it might be 30 grand a month. And then your debt service. Are you going to lease this home or own this home? So your debt service, your mortgage, your payment on the property, let's say it's another 5,000. You can get a pretty nice home for $5,000 a month in most parts of the country. That means this one home is netting you as the owner $10,000 a month. So, and that's just an average home, right? There's a lot of markets where the average number is a lot higher than that. So you're getting more per resident. So that's just kind of a quick, easy, fast example of how to get to that 10K a month on just one of these homes.
Interesting. So, and you're saying that you have one caretaker per 4 or 5 residents, right?
Yeah.
But when you were talking about all the costs of the staff, that includes everybody, right? That includes the chef, that includes the activities director, that includes the gardener, it includes all of that stuff.
It includes all of it, but also think it's just a single family home. So you just need one landscaper coming once a week, every other week. It's not a crazy expense. You know, on my own personal home, our landscaper comes every week and I pay him $100. So it's really a line item. The chef, same thing. In some of these homes, the caregivers do the cooking, and that's kind of what they do and what they're responsible for, caring for the residents and doing the cooking and cleaning. In other more high-end homes, so we kind of talk about the different levels of homes based on where the home is, what amenities you're, having within the home, things of that nature. A level 3 or a level 4 home would not have a private chef. The caregivers would more than likely be doing the cooking. But a level 5 home probably would have a chef. My nicest home, we've got a chef there who does made to order breakfast and fresh, lunch for them, and then cooks the dinner, and he's out the door by noon. The caregivers at night are just warming up whatever he prepared for dinner so that it's ready to go, but they have a chef there. So different amenities for different homes. Because of those amenities, the residents are going to be charged different amounts. And then, like you were saying with your own personal experience, the level of care also plays a heavy role into how much the resident is paying. So when we say the average in the home, $4,500 a month, you might have someone like your dad who's paying 9 or 10 in the home, and you might have someone who's paying 3 in the home, and and other people in the 4 to 5 range. And so it averages out to about $4,500 a month. You don't necessarily want to fill your home with a bunch of high need clients, because that's going to overwork your staff. A business doesn't work unless you pay attention to the 3 legs of the stool: the residents, the staff, and the business. You can't just focus on the business and making money. No, you've got to care for the other people involved in this and make sure that all those components are there, making sense and working well.
A lot to think about.
It's a whole business. Whole business.
Yeah.
But if you just have one, they could live for free, you could live for free, and you cash flow.
Right. So you have someone else that just manages. So you own the real estate, but someone else manages the whole thing, and you pay that person, right?
Yep. So that's your licensed administrator. In the real estate world, you could kind of call them your property manager, but they're much more than that. They're licensed through the state as a medical professional who's able to care for the residents, but they also might do many other things: hire and fire your staff, tour and market your home. They might be in charge of all the other contractors, like we were talking about, a chef, a landscaper, as someone to come over and do activities. They could have a whole varied, role and responsibility, for them. So I like to find an administrator. My one administrator oversees all 3 of my homes. I have one phone call with her a week, and I visit the homes every other month. So the way we've set it up is very passive. In the beginning, it wasn't that way, but we had to start to, formulate that and make it become that way. And that's what I like to share with other real estate investors how to do, because most people don't want to be hands-on in the home doing anything. And it's like, nope, not what we do. not what I want to show you how to do. I want to show you how to do this more passively.
Got it. So, okay. So in the old days when we had real B&Bs, not Airbnbs, we had real bed and breakfasts, right? There was all these rules and regulations about you had to have a certain kind of kitchen. You had to have a certain number of bathrooms. There was all these rules, right? I'm assuming that you can't just get a big house and turn it into a senior living without following all, like there's got to be other stuff, right? So talk to us a little bit about that.
There are rules and regulations, and I love that because you don't want just anybody getting into this industry, right?
I am so with you. Yep.
Like, hello, we want quality people who are willing to jump through hoops, who have the right heart, have the right passion, and are going to care for our seniors. These are people's lives. So I'm totally okay with rules and regs. Yes, in every state, these homes need to be licensed. The physical home has a license. It's mostly based on senior safety. So the home does not have to be ADA compliant, but it needs to be as close to that as possible, meaning wider hallways and doorways, ramps, guardrails, maybe fire suppression or sprinklers, different things of that nature to make it safe for the seniors. If you have to be Tom Cruise to get out of the house, it's not senior safe, right? So we want to make sure they're safe. That's priority. And then, so the physical home will have a license. The state requirements, though, are pretty bare minimum. Most states say 80 to 100 square feet per person. That is tiny.
Wow, that's a closet.
It's a closet. That's not okay. So our rule of thumb is 300 to 500 square feet per person. So if you're going to have 10 people in the home, minimum a 3,000 square foot home, upwards of 5,000 is much more comfortable, right? Most of these seniors are going to want a private bedroom and a private bathroom. So you're going to have a very hard time finding a 10 bedroom, 10 bath home on the market, but you can buy a 5 or 6 bedroom home and convert it to become. There's kind of a bunch, four ways you could get into the industry. And that's one of them, is buying a single family home and converting it to become. All of our homes are 10 bedroom, 10 bath, but they didn't start that way. They started 5 or 6 bedrooms and we converted them. And now they, have those 10 bedrooms. So just using the space a little bit differently, but we definitely recommend whatever the state says, go above that, make this really nice, make this comfortable, because the seniors deserve it. And if they're going to be paying a pretty penny, they're going to be comparing you to the other homes where they're getting a private bedroom, private bath. So you need to be able to supply that.
So when you were talking about this, let's say we buy a 5 bedroom, 4 bath, single family home. There are actually quite a lot of them here. But they all have lots of stairs.
Okay.
I was actually thinking of one that's on the market really close to my house, here in Sacramento. So I live in Sacramento now. It used to be San Jose, but I live in Sacramento. All of the houses are like these old, beautiful Victorians or craftsmen. I live in a craftsman, which is really fun. But there's so many stairs, and the hallways are very, very narrow. People were much smaller in those days. So talk to me about, like, what does that look like? So how do you find these places, and what do you do if you're in a situation where you get the only houses that are coming on the market are heavy and the stairs narrow on the hallways, that sort of thing?
Yes. So you can add chair lifts and elevators. You're going to need something because the seniors typically cannot climb the stairs at that point.
Of course.
The thin hallways is really tough because it's like, unless you're going to basically knock down the house and redo it, there's sometimes not much you can do when you have a historic home like that. And you don't want to take away the beauty of the way it was built. There's some, history in that, and you don't want to remove that. So honestly, I would say that probably in those types of homes might not be the right fit, because you would prefer ranch style, you'd prefer single level. We have a guy in Jersey who's got a 4-story home, right? On the East Coast, everyone's got basements. So he's got a nice big built out basement, 2 stories, and a full 3rd story up there. That's stunning. He added in a residential elevator. It's $30,000, but it's a one-time fee that you pay. And if you're going to be making that back, that home he has cash flows $40,000 a month, because all his people are paying over $8,000, and he has 15 people in that home. So all private bedrooms, private bathrooms. It's stunning. So I would definitely say, it might not be the right fit because of the style of homes there, unless you can add in a chairlift or an elevator. And those stairs, I don't know how well they do with the chairlift, and the homes, because they're so tight, sometimes an elevator might not work either, unless it was the perfect property, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, but going a little bit outside of town, where you
Yes.
have ranches, where you have more land, where you have that capability, you know, daughter Judy only wants to drive a certain distance from where she lives.
Mm-hmm.
So finding out the demographic research of where does that 50 to 70-year-old who's upper middle class, who owns their home, where do they live, eat, work, sleep, play?
Mm-hmm.
We want to put the residential assisted living home right near them, because they don't want to drive 45 minutes to go see mom or dad. They want to go right on their way home from work. So doing that demographic research is a really great place to start. And then obviously finding those properties that already kind of lend themselves to this is best.
Okay. So how far does daughter Judy drive usually?
Right. They say that usually they want to be within 5 to 10 minute radius of them, which 5 to 10 minute radius in Oklahoma is completely different than in LA, right?
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. Yes.
So 5 to 10 minutes, but also, again, depending on where they live, that could look very differently. But most daughter Judies want to be close. Can I ask, how far are you from your dad?
So when we lived in San Jose, it's my father-in-law. Okay. So this is an interesting story. This is my father-in-law. We've lived down in the Bay Area for 30 years. So we've been close to him for 30 years. And my parents were 2.5 hours away in Sacramento. When we moved him, long story, we moved him into his home. He was 25 minutes away, and it was a bear because we're so busy, right? And so driving down there, and it would hit traffic. So at the end of our work day, I work at home, but still at the end of the day, driving down there, you're hitting all the traffic, right? 25 minutes, we thought this is nothing, it's fine. And we did a bunch of research, found like 3 places that we liked, and we let my father-in-law pick. You know, he gets to have some say in this. And so we visited the different places, and he picked this place, and we were like, well, he likes this place, 25 minutes, whatever. Oh my God, it was so hard for us to get down there more than once a week, and it felt terrible, you know. Yeah. Now we've moved to Sacramento to be close to my parents. So now I'm 15 minutes away from my parents, 2.5 hours away from him. So we're looking at moving him up to Sacramento with us. But he's in hospice. That's another whole long story. But so now I live 15 minutes away from my 91-year-old dad or whatever. But yeah, when he was at his home, it was 25 minutes. And you're right. It was just like, we couldn't figure it out, you know. Trying to get all of us there together. Like if I could go one day, my husband could go a different day, but getting the 2 of us there together with the traffic and all of that stuff, it was just hard, you know.
Yeah, it's a lot harder than people think. So when we talk about location for residential assisted living, like I always tell people, the first key is finding out the demographics of the area, because they're the decision makers more than likely, right? And they want mom or dad near them. And so it's like, I don't care if you have the perfect house. If it is not near the right demographic, it won't work, right? That's what they're looking for, is always price, proximity, and like service amenities. And then just like the feel when they walk in, how do they feel in their heart, mind, and soul? Is my loved one going to be safe here? Are they going to be comfortable here? And you know, there's a real feel to a lot of these, and sometimes you walk in, you're like, no, absolutely not.
And I did that. Absolutely. It was like, nope, this is not going to work. Yeah.
Nope. And sometimes you walk in and you're like, okay, I could live here. This is pretty nice. Like I could do this. So you want to have that wow factor, that feel when they walk in. You want to make them feel comfortable. And that is one of the perks and benefits of residential assisted living, is it's a home. It's not home-like, it's a literal home. We grew up in homes. Who doesn't want to stay in a home, right?
Right.
So this is pretty much the only option besides in-home care, which is super expensive. So
yeah. So tell us a little bit about how we can take advantage of this and how we can learn more.
Yes. So we teach and train people how to do this because I do it myself. And then we teach people how to do this. We have 3-day training events there in Phoenix, Arizona, but we also have like online courses. But if anybody wants to get started just for free to check it out, we've got webinars, free books at RAL101.com.
blissfulinvestor.com/RAL. That's R as in raccoon, A as in apple, and L as in love. So it's blissfulinvestor.com/RAL.
Where you can kind of learn the 4 different ways you could get started in this. You could learn, the 3 smartest options for you to participate. Maybe it's just as a lender, maybe it's just owning the real estate or the real estate and the business, right? We go through all those options and then kind of the 5 keys to success. So you can learn and know all more about that on RAL 101.
blissfulinvestor.com/RAL. That's R as in raccoon, A as in apple, and L as in love. So it's blissfulinvestor.com/RAL.
And I know we're going to stick around for your special listeners and dive deep. So I'm excited to be able to share with them a little bit more too.
Yes. That's awesome. And actually, what would you like to share in extra? We didn't decide beforehand, ladies, because she was like, you're going to have questions, but I've got so many questions. It's hard to narrow them down. So Isabelle, I kind of like the 4 different ways to get started, doing a deep dive on that. I also like, you mentioned something just now about, what did you just say?
We said 4 smartest ways, 3 options to participate, like depending on how what role they want to take. And then the 5 keys to success. I could do either on any of them.
Oh my gosh. Ladies, I wish I could get your input on this. Let's do the ways to get started.
Okay.
I hope I picked the right one, ladies. But anyways, so in extra, we're going to talk about the ways to get started in this industry. And like she said, and her URL will be in the show notes. blissfulinvestor.com/RAL. That's R as in raccoon, A as in apple, and L as in love. So it's blissfulinvestor.com/RAL. But you can go there for all of their trainings and all of that information also. But yes, in extra, we'll be talking about how to get started in this business. That was so amazing. Such great information. Is there anything else you want to add before we move into our 3 rapid fire questions?
I always like to say, and I think I said in the beginning of this, but I hope it maybe if, they're still listening with us, means a little bit more after hearing our conversation, is that you're going to get involved with this one way or another. At this point, it's like you have an option on how you want to participate, because just like me, just like you, a lot of times you get slapped upside the head with this and it just hits you and you've got to deal with it right now and figure it out. It's not like this, oh, my mom might need this in 20 years, 30 years. It happens and it happens quick. And then all of a sudden you're like, what do we do? And, Les Brown always says, be prepared for opportunities, so I like to educate myself on as much as I possibly can so that when the opportunity arises, I'm ready to take action. And, I just encourage everybody listening, all the ladies today, just if this is ringing a bell to you, to be prepared for that opportunity. Start educating yourself, start getting prepared, whether it is you investing in someone else's, owning your own, or just learning about those options. So if and when you or a loved one ever needs this, you kind of know what to do, or else you are going to be scrambling, and it's a scary time, a stressful time, so many emotions. So just start educating yourself, getting prepared, and that's my best advice.
Okay. I love that. There were some thoughts that came to me as you were talking. So, it's been really, really hard on us to think about putting our parents in a home. I'm Indian. So in our culture, in the Eastern cultures, we traditionally don't do that. Mm-hmm. But what's also true is that in the Eastern cultures, there was someone responsible to take care of the parent. And the parent still did not always get the best care. In our case, we couldn't lift him. He's 250 pounds. There was just no way that any one of us that was dedicated to this. And, my sister lives at home with my parents, but even living at home with my parents, if one of them were to go completely down, she can't physically lift them to clean them and change diapers and change the bed and do all of those things. So it's not a matter of whether we don't love them or we I only work 5 to 10 hours a month. I tell people, Moneeka, what are you doing with your time? Why are you not taking care of your parents? And I have felt guilt around that. And I know that a lot of women will. And the truth is, I am just not capable of giving him the care as a professional would. So I would rather have someone come in-house, but you talk about it being hugely expensive. When we were looking at the costs, even at $10,000 a month that we're paying now, had we done in-home care, the cheapest in-home care, and we would not have hired the cheapest would have been $15,000 a month. The cheapest. And we were going to have to remodel parts of the house to make it possible, right? Because he needed to be able to get into the shower, and there was some other. So we're talking about another $50,000 expense, right? If we were to get him the kind of care we wanted, it was going to be closer to 20 to 25,000. That's the kind of care that he's getting in the home.
Yep.
Right. So we have our hearts in the right place, but we don't realize how difficult things can become. The other thing that is a very, very difficult conversation to have with the elderly is long-term care. So my parents have long-term care, but I'm very, very aware of the fact that my father-in-law thought he had long-term care. He thought he was going to be covered by Medicare. He thought all of these different things, but there's a whole series of rules where we get no help, not even a single dime, nothing. So my parents have long-term care, but the long-term care will not cover things like diapers, physical therapy, or personal trainer. There's also big rules about that. So there's going to be lots of out-of-pocket things that come up that you need to kind of be prepared for, even if they've got long-term care. I've got 6 parents that we are going to be looking at with this stuff. So now I'm having very difficult conversations with all of them after the fact. Now my father-in-law's in the could we have talked about this earlier? Whatever. But now we're talking about what have you set up for this situation? My father-in-law did think that he had enough cash to cover him, but nobody anticipated the costs. And so he didn't. We ran out after the first year. So anyway, so those are some things to think about. The other thing that was interesting, Isabelle, as you were talking, is in these homes, one of the things that you can do that's really cool, I think, is make it a cultural home. So for instance, all of us Indians put our parents together because they have so much in common. They can do their pujas together. They can play Teenpathy together. Like certain cultures have things that they do, and they want to do it with people that understand. They don't want to have to be explaining their culture with every little thing that they do or say, or their idioms, or the way that they deal, the way that they take their walks in the morning, right? I know we've got a Chinese home close by. I've been looking for an Indian one in case I need it. So you can also do cultural ones. It's not segregating, it's allowing them to feel a little bit more at home, like they've got people that understand them in those later years of their lives. And I think if you could do a home that's only 6 people or 10 people, you're much more likely to be able to build a community that's more culturally sensitive. Would you agree with me on that?
100%. And I always tell people that we have a home here in Arizona called Shalom Home. Mm-hmm. And so it focuses on the Jewish culture. They eat kosher food. They celebrate the Jewish holidays. And to me, that's a beautiful thing. I always encourage our students, don't be afraid of niching down. If you want to do a home that's vegan, fantastic. You know how many daughter Judys are going to be so excited to put their mom or dad in a vegan home, or mm-hmm. Whatever it is. It could be religion, it could be ethnicity, it could be all women, all male, whatever you want to do, you can do that because you're going to appease someone's need. And let's be real, as people age, a lot of people who are aging right now in America maybe weren't born here or maybe didn't grow up here. And they're a lot of times when you start having memory issues, you go back to your native tongue, your first language. Mm-hmm. So it's very hard when someone's taking care of them who doesn't understand that, doesn't get it. Now they're getting frustrated with each other because I love niche homes. I love that you mentioned that. And you can totally do it. And a ton of our students do those, specialty homes. And I think it's just such a fun way to meet a really important need in society, in culture. And people, you would be happy to be paying what you're paying if he was in a home that had only 5 other residents. He had eyes on him at all time, and it was an Indian centric focused home. You'd be like excited about that. You'd be like, I'll write that check.
That's right. Totally. And like they're all watching Indian movies, right? And they're playing the Indian cable station, and they're playing Indian music over dinner, and all of those things. It makes them feel so much more at home. There's lots of red everywhere, right? Because Indians love their red, right? Yeah. The china looks a certain way, right? So it's I can see, and my dad and I have talked a little bit about this, because once one or the other of them go, we're fully aware that there could be these possibilities. And he has said over and over and over again, I don't know that I can, being an elderly man, that I want to restart full relationships in an environment where people don't understand me at all. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
It's a valid fear. And I think it's a beautiful thing to be able to provide that. And I really think that one of the blessings about being in this industry is, there's a lot of cash flow, but our company motto is to do good and do well, because you can make a massive impact on people's lives. When you have these families who are grateful, who are thankful for the services that you're offering, because they truly know it's better than what they're ever going to get anywhere else, you feel really good about that. And to me, making an impact in the world is really, really important and valid. And I think that being able to provide that to your community is a beautiful thing. Even if it starts selfishly with, I want it for my family, who cares? It's going to grow into something that you're going to bless other Indian families and Indian people for the rest of, as long as that home exists. You pass that home to your kids, they can have that. It's a contribution to society. And I think that's a beautiful thing.
Mm-hmm. I love that. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So are you ready for our 3 rapid fire questions?
Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. So Isabelle, tell us the super tip on how to get started investing in real estate.
So I would say super tip would be like what we were talking about earlier, is just location. If you want to start this, it's finding out that prime location, so that then you can start getting excited about finding those homes, niching down on the rules and regs and kind of what you're going to do there. So location is key. Finding out where the daughter Judys are, who can afford the home, and then moving from there.
Got it. And then what would you say is one strategy on being successful as a real estate investor?
I always say that our most successful students that I've seen, we've been teaching and training for about 7, 8 years. And I've been in this industry for 10 years. And I really think that the number one quality trait that I see, whether it's men, women, young, old, in real estate or not real estate, the one character trait that they all have in common is grit. People who are willing to get hit in the face and get back up and do it again. And if you are going to be in the real estate world, you better believe that's going to happen quite a few times if you're going to be in it for the long run, right? So I think it's really important to just have that in your heart and soul. And if that's not you, then that's fine. But, for me, it's like, that's the biggest strategy, is having a really strong passion, why, and just sticking to that grit. Just keep going, keep trying every single day. Never give up.
Okay. I love that. And then what is one daily practice that you do, Isabelle, that would contribute to your personal success?
For me, I have learned about myself, and this might be a little too woo-woo for anybody listening, but for me, I'm like a nature girl. If I don't spend like an hour outside, I go crazy, especially like working from home or traveling or whatever. A lot of times you're just indoor all day and you don't realize, why do I feel icky? Why do I feel off? Like, I have to spend time outside, just like feeling the sun, being outside. I'll bring my computer out there and work. That's fine. But I just know what works for me. So I always tell people, like, you just have to find what works for you, right? If that's starting the morning with a walk, then you got to do it. For me, I just learned I don't feel right if I don't spend time outside. So now it's part of my daily routine, and it really helps me, I think, re-energize and just live my best life, which is all that I ever want for anybody, is to be able to show up 100% themselves.
That's awesome. Thank you for that.
Of course.
So ladies, stay tuned for Extra. We're going to be talking about the 4 different ways to get started in this business. So if you are subscribed to Extra, stay tuned. If you're not, you can do that by going to Real Estate Investing for Women Extra.com. For those of you that are joining us, that are leaving us right now, thank you for joining Isabelle and I for this portion of the show. You know how much I appreciate you, and I look forward to seeing you next time. And until then, remember, goals without action are just dreams. So get out there, take action, and create the life your heart deeply desires. I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
I hope you enjoyed today's show. If you'd like to find out more about how to become a blissful millionaire, go to blissfulinvestor.com. See you next time.